Friends and enemies, welcome back. CBP, the Mighty CBP Media Network, the Mighty CBP Podcast. We're back. My name's Joey. That's Len. It's Monday night. You're here. We're here. Our wives are upstairs alone, and we're ready to talk about Bitcoin, economics. Gonna be some politics tonight. Of course, I mean there has to be after the
NBA
weekend.
Jam. We'll talk about NBA Jam as well.
Talk about Jason Tatum getting 0 minutes and having to clap along, being reduced to the Jason Garrett clapping on the sideline role for the
Jason
Team
Garrett
USA.
was a third-string quarterback, though, so he didn't have. I mean, when I used to watch,
He's got a lot of experience clapping on the sideline. You're suggesting not his first time clapping on the sideline as the Cowboys coach.
Ivy League, Princeton's own Jason Garrett.
Mm.
So remember, he was behind Steve Berline, Wade Wilson. God
Was
knows
he?
what, Rodney Peete? Yeah. So
Rodney
it was always
Peete, Carolina Panthers great Rodney Peete.
He ended up on the Cowboys after, and so Jason Garrett was the third guy on the list, and so like the rules were at the time. Remember, if you bring in a third guy, you're not allowed to play either the first or second string quarterback until the fourth quarter. So that's why the third string will just sit there, and he was perennial third string, and because he had a mind, he got into coaching. He was a perfect third string quarterback.
Yeah, not a good coach either. So the mind is very much up for debate. I'm going to ask you, Len, as we usually do to start the show here, how the heck are you doing? Things are good over there? What's up? Good to see people in the chat. Good to see people on Twitter. How are you doing?
I'm good. I can't believe we're talking about football here, which is interesting. I haven't watched it in decades. Yeah, man, all good. The weather is very nice and warm. Lunchtime, I cut the grass. It was fantastic.
Nice.
And yeah, how are things over there?
I did my grass on the weekend, so that's good. I was great today. I did my normal Sunday night to Monday night fast. I'm getting better and better at it. Though this morning in the gym, it was legs for me today. So normally I would just do like squats, some light, like 185-pound RDLs, some other stuff. Today I opted to get back on the like box jump train for no good reason. And let me tell you, this was a hard 24 hours of fasting, having done that stuff this morning at like 7 or 8 o'clock. So yeah, I think from now on, the Monday that I'm fasting, I'll probably just do like heavy bench or something that's not so athletic, let's call it. I don't know what else to call it, but it's not a compound lift. But otherwise, I'm good, man. I cut my grass on the weekend, like I said. Did a lot of yard work on the weekend. It rained a lot here in Southern Ontario over the last month or so. And so the growth in my backyard, unbelievable. I was going along the fence lines there, chopping, ripping, clipping, cutting, all kinds of foliage. And yeah, it looks a lot better than it did earlier in the week. And then last night I drove out to Streetsville to see one of my best friends, his wife, their 3 kids, with my wife and another couple that we've been tight with for, oh God, I don't know, at this point, 35 years. These guys are my childhood friends. So always a good way to wrap up the weekend.
Community there. And you entered in a different world community. Very nice. What did you do in between? Because there's, just fighting the degenerates and homeless, the vagabonds along the way. Just get out of my way.
It's all highways, so there's not too many vagabonds. But yeah, I mean, my wife did point out on the way there, or on the way out, I should say, at I was probably 8 o'clock, maybe 8:30, that it was a very homogenous set of people on the streets in Streetsville compared to what you might expect. I'm not going to go any deeper than that, but yeah, I mean, it's happening everywhere. Anyways, so now that the advertisers are unhappy on YouTube, let's talk about our advertisers. EasyDNS, best place for you to host a domain, host your content, buy a website, port a website, do whatever you want. Maybe you want to ask Mark ways you can, I don't know, start an eBay account or something. He might be able to help you. If you buy a website and host it there and pay him a monthly fee, I'm sure he wouldn't mind answering that question. I don't know how good an answer you get, but we use these DNS to host our content. We hope you will too. Tons of stuff available over there. You can start an email with your new account. You can use PGP and GPG email. Mark, very security focused. There's a fine line between practice and protection, I think, pragmatism and protection. Mark toes it very well. And we've seen that through the show we do for Mark, Access of Easy, over on the Access of Easy feed. EasyDNS is always a step ahead when it comes to securing your data, your information, your website. And ultimately, it's your work, right? You want someone who's going to secure your work and help you protect the things that you're putting on the internet. And Mark will do that for you. On top of that, virtual private server, suite of options there. Nodes, Nostr relays, BTC Pay server, nodeless, you name it, he's got it. There's much more than that, I'm sure. And of course, if you go there and you want to start something with Mark and start something with a buddy or start something solo, you need a website, you go there and you get half off your first round. CBP Media is the code, and you can't beat that, Len. I don't think you can get 50% off anything basically anywhere anymore. And here Mark is. offering it to our listeners and viewers. And I know you guys have been using it. He tells us, keep going. See what else you can do. Buy a domain. Buy a few domains. Buy a domain for your children. You know, I'm having a kid in November, God willing, and I'm thinking about buying like all the domains and online handles for all the names we have picked out. Is that weird, or is that like the expectation now?
I have no idea if it falls in one category or another. The way things are going these days, I can't even judge. So do what you got to do, Joey. But if you are going to do it, you know who to talk to. And
Yeah.
of course, use the code, because then you're going to get 50% off your purchase.
100%. And Mark, you're due for an appearance on the show, Mark. The studio here. Actually, I was just rearranging some stuff before I started tonight's program. So we look forward to having you back. Maybe with Greg Foss. Mark and Greg are friends. I'm trying to facilitate that meeting. Greg lives, I think, like 15 minutes from me, max. So yeah, it'd be good to have him in. Anyway, we got 2 sponsors. Who's the other one?
We have a set. Yeah, we do. Bull Bitcoin. Go ahead. Can't discount or discount.
Gotta check the show email here. Make sure nothing happened between
no,
7
Bull
and
is great.
7:06.
Even if they do cut us loose for whatever reason, I'm still going to talk fondly of them because of the services that they offer. It's like, look, they offered a non-custodial model of buying Bitcoin. This is something you should be looking at. Don't rely on those other ones that you're buying and they're holding. This way, Bull gives you the opportunity right away to take it off and put it on to cold storage. But you can buy your Bitcoin, you can sell your Bitcoin on chain, Lightning, different options. I have no idea what the fees are right now. I haven't checked, but if they're low, still do on chain. That's just my advice. But again, do your own research to see what works best for you. But either way, if fees do spike, you can buy through Lightning or sell through Lightning. So Bull has you covered. So other things they do have over there is you can pay your bills, because look, the price of Bitcoin, it's, it moves quite a bit. And sometimes when Donald Trump says something, it goes up. Sometimes when Kamala Harris says something, it goes down. So take advantage. If it's up, you could then start paying your bills with your Bitcoin, and Bull Bitcoin will facilitate that for you. So you bought Bitcoin in the past, it's gone up quite a bit. You want to start spending it. Well, you want to pay your hydro bill, you want to pay your car payment, mortgage, whatever. You can do that with Bull Bitcoin, and you can start spending your Bitcoin to do that. That's one good way to spend your Bitcoin. Another good way, you could buy these gift cards. So if you want to start spending it in real world, there's not many merchants out there that accept Bitcoin directly. So the option you have is you have to buy gift cards. And who's going to be selling you these gift cards? Bull Bitcoin. Yes. And they'll be happy to sell you those gift cards and take your Bitcoin and give it to you. And so you could get these like Home Depot gift cards or Starbucks, whatever, and then you can go use that in the real world. So indirectly, you're spending your Bitcoin, but you're doing this through Bull Bitcoin. You're facilitating the purchase with them. So I love it. A lot of different options on there. Check it out. And if you open an account with our promo code below, $21 will be added to your account after you fund it, and you're good to go. So check it out. Any questions? They got a great team. They'll help you out. They'll guide you through the process, especially if you're new. They got the team to help you out. So wonderful stuff. Check it out.
Did you see friend of the show, Mark Mulder, was on a video that Pablo posted on Twitter from the Nashville conference, talking about the Bull Bitcoin. If you came up with 3 words to describe Bull Bitcoin, what would you say? And Mark said, like great customer service or best customer service. I mean, that's spot on. And Francis noted in a tweet, I just retweeted actually not long ago, that like Bull in the grand scheme is not that big an exchange, but like many Canadian companies, these guys are not only punching above their weight, but they take pride, I think, in making sure that you have not only the best experience with the platform, but the best experience with the people. And that's a rare sort of cocktail these days, whether it's in Bitcoin or anywhere else in the sort of, retail available services world. So happy to have them as a partner and a sponsor. Do you want to go to Boost? Shall we do Boost? And then we'll talk about what's coming on CBP.
Yeah, we might as well do boosts because you know what? There's 4 of them in particular because one guy boosted twice. So I just basically amalgamated it into one. So Doom Damazim, 521 sats. He's back at it. He says, "Thank you for your time. Do anything more scarce than Bitcoin."
You're welcome.
I like the fact he does that. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Doom Damazim. Wartime, 1,333 sats. He says, "I know it's short notice, but there is an annual Lake Satoshi Bitcoin retreat on August 9th to 11th in Michigan, USA. Specifically, I'm not sure." He says, "Lots of plebs, camping and beach activities, barbecue, and overall great time. $21 gets you in for the whole weekend. Not a bad price.
Wow. Yeah.
Would be awesome if you guys could come. For more details, see lakesatoshi.com. So I'm not going to be, my weekends are, actually my summer is all filled up. So I appreciate it, but I'd be happy to plug it. That's people check it out. LakeSatoshi.com. $21 gets you in. Where it's located, I'm not exactly sure. Does it say?
It's yeah, I'll tell you right now.
Like
It
Traverse
is.
City or something like that's.
It looks nice. I mean, if this overhead shot is where it is, that's pretty good.
It doesn't say. Oh, here it is. Langsberg.
Langsberg?
Langsberg.
I don't know. Listen, I'm not much of a tent guy. Famously in my friend group, this is a bit embarrassing, but I'll share it anyway. Famously in my friend group, I was invited to camp really for the first time ever that I ever camped. That was probably like 23, maybe something like that, in Algonquin Park. And Algonquin, for the, sort of uninitiated, is, I don't know if it's difficult camping, but it's not camping you could do with like, your little kids or whatever. It's usually a couple hours of canoeing out to a site that the province assigns you, that the park assigns you based on a rotating roster of available spots due to like, animal movement and stuff like that. And they don't want the sites to become run down. I went, my buddy and our other friend went the night before. Me and my one friend's girlfriend, now his wife, actually the couple we went to see yesterday. So his girlfriend and I went up a day later, canoed up there alone. I had never even been in a canoe. Okay. And we got to this campsite and I didn't have a tent, a pillow. What else? I didn't have a sleeping bag, but I did have a backpack with 2 pairs of sunglasses. That's the kind of camper I am. Okay.
You had a car though.
My car was,
or somebody had you could always
40 kilometers away. We had to park. Yeah. So it was a while. I don't know if it was 40 kilometers. How long is it was like a 4-hour canoe ride probably to the site from the marina or the dock, the launch. How far is that? Is that like,
I have no idea. I've done kayaking. I have kayaks, but I have no idea how fast you go in a canoe.
Couldn't tell you. So anyway, I'm not the guy you want camping, and I never want to be in a tent again, honestly, unless like for some reason my kid or kids have like this desire to do it, then maybe I'll suck it up. But otherwise, no, I refuse. Right, so glamping only. I need outlets, Len, and I need to be able to get a Coors Light in the middle of the day at 10 a.m. without having to worry about carrying back the cans. So anyway, there you go.
We got Sir Snacksalot, 2100 sats. Sats for Joey because he knows he's always right and tired of pretending he's not.
Oh yeah.
Almost the most humble man in podcasting. But really always tune in for the opinions of CBP. Very base Canadians. Bless you.
It doesn't it feel like that though, Len? Like I know he's sort of probably not. He's half joking. Actually, I was at a pool party last weekend. This is Joey's story hour. I was at a pool party last weekend and I said to another friend of mine's girlfriend, we were talking politics after a couple of drinks. And I was like, I'm just so tired of pretending I'm wrong when I know I'm right. And she looks at me and she goes, when do you ever pretend you're wrong? It's like, that's not a bad point. At work, I guess. Is that the only place?
Well, yeah, it is. I'm of the opinion that all roads lead to land, and I don't even bother anymore. I just let people figure it out, and if they don't, so be it. Mike DeGroot, 3,000 sats.
Hey, Mike.
Great episode. Really enjoyed this one. This is the one you did last with Michael Geist.
Yeah, he's great. Yeah. Mike was great. I appreciate that, Mr. DeGroot. Mr. DeGroot, on a separate note, fantasy football starting up again, CBP. If you want a slot, put your name in. I'm going to try and get new. I'm going to try and rotate out. This is a PSA for everybody. If you want to play in the CBP Fantasy League, I think we did 50,000 sats last year to enter, and it was top 3 got a prize. So it was 12 teams, half PPR. Draft is sometime at the end of August, early September. We'll find a date that works for everybody. We use a sleeper app. It's a lot of fun. I got a spot, obviously, because I'm in charge. Alex from Bull Bitcoin gets a spot because he works for the sponsor, and he's in a league of his own trying to talk football with the Bull Bitcoin guys, which, let me tell you from experience, does not go that well most of the time. And also a guy named the Fish Bomb gets a spot because he won the league last year. So 3 spots down, 9 to go. I have a short list filling up, including young Karadza and a few others who have been on the show over the course of the last year who want to play. So who knows if like for some reason we can't fill 12 spots. I mean, last year we had like 20 to 25 people who wanted to play, and I had to just pick the first, 9 or 10. This year I'll do like a wheel spin or something, and I want to stream the draft. The draft is like the most fun thing about fantasy football. So I want to stream the draft. So if you want to play, send me a DM. and I'll put you on the list and we can figure it out. And that is it. Housekeeping. Last week, Michael Geist, excellent interview. Dr. Geist is in my opinion, foremost expert on digital and copyright law in the country. Maybe one of the top 2 or 3 guys anyone in the world, in the developed world, should be listening to in terms of precedent, concerns, successes, and failures of these types of laws. And we got into a few of the big ones over the last little while. We didn't get into the Online Harms Act, which I know many of you will want to hear about. Dr. Geist and I were talking a bit after the show, and he said, when we're ready to have that conversation, he'd love to come back. I think there'll be some more developments over the next, 5-6 months anyways. So we're looking forward to having him back. If you haven't listened to that yet, I cannot recommend it enough. I said to him after the show, Len, that most of the time you and me have C-suite people from Bitcoin companies or exchanges or people who are like sort of top of their class in Bitcoin or adjacent silos, energy and power and mining and all these things. And I don't really mind going toe to toe or like kind of doing a tango with those guys. And I don't have to do that much show prep. I have like some stuff I want to talk about. I have an idea of what the opinion I will hear back is. And I know kind of how I want to volley the ball back and forth. I had like 3 pages of notes for Dr. Geist. And I told him after the show, I still felt like I was on my heels a bunch because the guy is just so sharp and so well read in these subjects that people who support the bills want to talk to him. People who don't support the bills want to talk to him. People who are experts in the field want to talk to him. And people who know nothing about the field want to talk to him. That is so rare these days, especially with all the political repercussions of these sorts of bills. So I really recommend listening to that. We have a guest on Wednesday. I saw you book somebody. Who did you book?
UTXO.
Hey, nice. Great.
So you remember he got into some hot water?
Yes.
I mean,
Nodeless.
maybe not hot water. He was advised by his legal team to cut bait with that because it was maybe a money exchange business and potentially this. I'm not saying these are my words, or there may be somebody could say there could be money laundering involved in there. So that's why he was kind of pushed out of that. But he's back in the game. He's started a new company and he's going by the book. He's getting this all KYC and everything. So like it's going to be very similar to the last one. It's going to be enabling sending and receiving Bitcoin over the Lightning Network. And he's trying to get exchanges that are going to be using this. There's for liquidity providers and mostly just wrappers, essentially what he's trying to provide for them. So it's going to be easy for them to use Lightning. So I like this, the fact that he's still continuing what he was doing before, but now he's done it now above board, and that he's going to probably not that
it wasn't above board before.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, this way he's satisfying the people's expectations of what they want him to do. And he's doing it this way. So as soon as I saw it, I was like, man, let's get him on because he went through some tough times not too long ago.
Big time.
And I'm looking forward to talking to him about what's going on with him and this new company that he started. It's called Bitvora, bitvora.com, if you want to check out more.
Great. Yeah, I'm excited for that. He was a great interview last time you had him on. I don't listen to every interview, but he's a guy who really he really understands, I think, what Bitcoin is about and tries to, especially now, as you mentioned there, he's trying to satisfy a lot of the demands of Bitcoin apps, I guess I would call this, Bitcoin companies. So I'm happy to do that and give him a platform. So I'm looking forward to that episode from you guys. Next week is August 6th. Kevin Muir will be on, the macro tourist. I've been a big fan of Kevin's for a long time. Market Huddle is one of my favorite shows. Him and Patrick Sresna, you know what they call Bitcoin when they talk about it on Market Huddle? The asset that shall not be named.
But why would they call it that?
Their listeners. I don't think their listeners want to hear them talk about it. But as we know, Len, as we know, it's being spoken about. So Kevin has he's let me know that he is a coin skeptic, but I said, I'm happy to get into that with you. We do have people on the show who are not Bitcoiners per se, but I think if you listen to Kev and read his stuff, and if you're familiar with his work at all, he's been on Mike Campbell's Money Talks too. He has a lot of the same concerns we do about the Canadian economy, about the currency, about devaluation and debasement, and thinks that hard assets are something that people need to be looking at and holding in their portfolio. So I'm excited to have that conversation. I tried to get him to come to my house because he's from Toronto, but not so easy, I guess. Never
Did you offer Uber?
No, I didn't. I should put together like a package for people. It can't be that hard.
Yeah.
If I like got the local brewery to give me a 6-pack every time someone came over, and I just give it to them, and then CBP will give you whatever $200 for the Uber if it's from Toronto. I don't know how much it costs the Uber from Toronto, but I'll pay your way. I don't know. We gotta think about it. Bull Bitcoin, you need to pay us more money. This is sweet. This is
Yeah,
sweet.
there's less competition, right? Like we have TFTC decided to pack it in.
They're
right? And,
Yeah, McCormick's packing it in next week.
Yeah,
apparently.
what Ledger's done is now finished. So there's anyways. Did you listen to the last episode of TFTC or no? Did it?
I haven't yet. It was live. I don't usually listen to the live ones, but I will listen to that one, and I look forward to it. Did you listen to it?
I tend not to listen to that.
Are they actually done? Or are they just changing the name and changing the direction? I know Marty's been going, I think really tinfoil hat the last year and a half or so.
He's doing Citadel Dispatch, right? Not Marty.
Matt doing Citadel Dispatch. Yeah.
So he's been doing that a lot. So I don't know what. I mean,
I don't know.
Who the heck knows?
I guess we'll find out. But you and me are still making content. Anyway, so that's 21 minutes. I'll write that down so that I don't blow into the shorts.
It's going to be a 6-hour show, Joey. I'm not sure if you just took a hell of a nap too, but before the show, so I'm ready to go very late. If people wanted to hear us go later, let us know, and I'll twist Joey's arm one way or another.
I'm leaving here at 8:40 sharp. No one's keeping me past.
Well, we didn't mention which time zone, so that's Pacific.
Oh, true.
So,
yeah.
So
Fair.
We'll write a book. Yeah, this conference thing. Did you happen to catch any of this thing? Because there was some.
You want to start there? Is that where we're starting?
I think that's the biggest news this week, but it's not really the conference itself, but who is there and what people are talking about. Where it's on the agenda. What's biggest this week? But Donald Trump was the main guest, and I'm still waiting for that special guest to show up on the stage.
There's no special guest.
What the fuck was that all about?
There is no special guest.
Number one, you have Donald Trump. Now, say what you want if you like him or dislike him, but when he's there, he's the headliner, right? He's not going to want to be trumped by somebody else. He wants to be the man, and I can understand it. The guy was former president, could be future president.
Yeah.
Who was it? And they were delaying, and they were talking about this special guest, and Odell was saying, "Yeah, once you hear the name, you're gonna."
They're full of shit. They're full of shit. I don't think there ever was a special guest, honestly.
That's whatever.
How about I want to shout out Pete Rizzo, who was on the desk for the 2 hours before Trump came on, which turned into 3 hours, just moments away from a historic Donald Trump speech. He kept on saying, he must have said that 50 times in that 3 hours, and I think by the end, if you go back and watch the stream. I mean, I'm assuming you guys were watching the stream. I had it on. I was just like having a beer at my living room table, waiting for this guy to come on. If you look, Matt Odell is sitting beside Pete, and he is trying so hard not to laugh every time Pete hits him with just a few more minutes from a historic Donald J. Trump, the 45th presumptive 47th president. I was laughing so hard, man. I don't know, Len. What did you think about the conference? I mean, you have a I don't want to say an axe to grind. That's not fair. But you have a different opinion of the hosts than I do. So what did you think about the conference? Overall content, overall impact, all that stuff. Where do you come down on it?
You're asking the wrong guy. I didn't watch any of it except for the Donald Trump speech. And even that, I'm sorry to say, once he did his 10-minute name drop, I kind of quit a few minutes into it. I just gave up because I've seen so many Trump speeches. It's oh, this is another one. So I just gave up. And it's not like he was going to be spitting fire like I was expecting in a different type of rally. And that would catch my attention. So I can't say anything. I can't give you an opinion about it. Maybe you can give an opinion about the conference. But unfortunately, for whatever reason, I can't give it. I can only give you what I read after the fact of what people do.
So I didn't watch all of it. So I'll start with that.
Who could watch all of that?
I know. I have a job and chores and other things I care about.
You have a life.
NCAA football, whatnot.
Heard it's a good game, by the way.
Fantastic gameplay, very fluid. We'll talk more about that maybe after. I think I like Bailey anyways. I don't agree with everything he's done, obviously, like the NFT stuff and the token stuff. Do I think it's a great idea? No. Do I think it's better than other ideas? Yeah. More appropriate for Bitcoin than other ideas. Yeah. But I have to say, Len, that I think at this point, and I kind of want to call out Predator a little bit, even though he's, friendly with us and sometimes, is in the chat and I think he's been in the chat a few times and he's on Twitter all the time.
If he has.
I mean, I was looking at just Twitter during the Trump delay, and a lot of people calling out Bitcoin Magazine for the delay, calling out Bitcoin Magazine for the stream crashing when Trump came on YouTube, and Predator was among them. And I don't know anything about Predator, honestly. I don't know anything about a lot of the NIM accounts who attack like Bailey, Bitcoin Magazine, Mark Goodwin, Rizzo, and these guys who work for BTC Mag. But at this point, I think it looks bad. And I think that there's like a pretty solid case to be made at this stage that Bitcoin Magazine has proven itself to be a pro Bitcoin outfit in a lot of ways. Now, as I mentioned, and we agree on this, they do some things that are like maybe not totally unpalatable, but somewhat unpalatable, I think. But at this stage, that conference, Len, there's maybe not been a bigger, more impactful 2 days in terms of Bitcoin policy, promise, and prose, hence the title of the show tonight, than the 2024 Nashville conference. You had Senator Lummis talking about the strategic reserve. You had RFK talking about the importance of making sure that America holds some Bitcoin. And then, whether you think Trump gets it or doesn't get it, the fact of the matter is a guy who is, at this point, the likely 47th president, although not by as much as it was a few weeks ago, has no choice but to speak about Bitcoin because his party had no choice but to put it in their platform. And whether he understands the implications of a strategic reserve, whether he understands that he's going to buy Bitcoin, at a clip that's more than what they produce per day, in RFK's case, I don't think that really matters. Like, I don't think the details matter that much. I think, like we always talk about on the show, directionally, there's no argument about whether or not the last few days has been really good for Bitcoin or not. Now the price may not reflect it, but hey, we know a little bit about that.
Price has gone up a little bit in the past week.
It's like sub 67 now, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
But we could go, where were we? Were we around here? Like don't look at
I know.
Hour. Look at the zoom out.
Directionally, yeah, of course. And so I think that the conference really for the first time, Len, was a global event with everyone's eyes on it. And maybe the most important thing, whether they wanted to watch or not, they didn't have a choice. I heard guys talking about on like big macro podcasts, Trump speaking at the Bitcoin event this weekend. I heard political podcasts, Trump speaking at the Bitcoin event this weekend. I heard on Bankless, Trump speaking at the Bitcoin event this weekend. Like everybody has to listen and watch what he says. Now, again, do I think that Trump understands what it means to have a strategic reserve? Do I think he understands the nature of Ross Ulbricht's crime? So I think he understands the nature of, comments like Bitcoin is the new steel industry. I don't think he does, but I also don't think it matters. I don't think any president understands what, the fringe topics they're forced to talk about because the politics of the day demand that they have an opinion on it. Much the same way that I don't think Trump understands like the intricacies of an abortion, but he has to talk about it. Much like I don't think he understands the intricacies of, firearms augmentation, but he has to have an opinion on it. And so, when you have to go a mile wide and inch deep, there's going to be concessions made by the guy speaking, but there is no debate that this was a big weekend for Bitcoin. And, and Pablo's in the chat saying the same thing, like, bringing in for the guy who just almost was assassinated to come to the Bitcoin event. That's huge, man. Like, that is enormous stuff. And then when you talk about, Bailey saying on Twitter that they were talking to Kamala, whatever, Harris, about coming to the conference too. Like, she was thinking about doing it. I mean, I think that would have been unwise for her. I can just imagine that she would have been booed out of the building. But the point is that we have arrived on the global stage and the mainstream political stage like nobody in Bitcoin thought we would this early. And to me, that's huge. And so, although I may not agree with everything they do, it's like a hats off to David Bailey, a hats off to Bitcoin Magazine, a hats off to the conference. And I'm thinking, Len, that I'm going to go to Vegas next year for the conference. I'm going to try and get a press pass. Our friends SB and Scribe are also going to go, I think. And I'm on this air today, the Lord's year 2024, July 29th. I'm inviting you to come to the Vegas Bitcoin conference in 2025. I'm inviting you to come to the conference. You can just, I don't care what you do while you're there. Just come.
You're inviting me or in general you?
You too.
No, because I ain't going.
Yeah, but you can just hold a sign by the desk and say, like,
it don't matter, man. I think just even to spend a nanosecond doing it, the people, they look. I mean, we can say what they brought in Trump, and that was a good thing. They brought in RFK to talk about Bitcoin again, and I guess that's a good thing. But
the difference between his speech last year and this year, enormous.
I can't. I was critical of the one last year, and I can't be critical of the one this year because I didn't hear it. The guy can say whatever the fuck he wants. Doesn't really matter. So he's got no hope in hell of becoming the president of the United States. So he gets just throwing shit on the wall and hope it sticks. But the people that run this thing, I mean, let's be honest, they're opportunists, right? Like they're willing to sacrifice something in order to gain, and sacrifice something big in order to gain more money. And that's fine. Everybody's, don't hate the player, hate the game type thing. But this is the reality. That's what they are. And it's like so many other people. We've seen it time and time again with politicians too. Right, that people, they stand by something and then switch because their goal is, Polyev, for instance. I'm really going onto the weeds here. Remember Polyev was saying, talked about Bitcoin,
lighting up a hookah with Ali in his house talking about Bitcoin. I'm pretty sure, yeah.
And then shortly thereafter, didn't talk about Bitcoin again. What's his goal? To become prime minister. So he's sacrificing his belief, his ideas, his love for Bitcoin in order to become prime minister. Now, if he's willing to sacrifice that to become prime minister, what is he willing to sacrifice to remain prime minister? Same thing goes to the Bitcoin Magazine people. They sold shit, garbage, like essentially trash to people, newcomers trying to make gain. For what? Just to make more money for themselves. And at the expense of what? You're spamming the network. You're making it more difficult for people, more expensive for people to transact on it, promoting BRC20 tokens, promoting putting pictures on there. People getting wrecked in the process. You know what? Like they're opportunists, and it's fine. They put on a very good conference. They brought in a lot of good people. They talked about Bitcoin, but you scratch the surface, you can see what's they're all about. And as long as they can pad their pocketbook, they'll do it fucking again at the expense of what? Bitcoin as a whole. That's fine. And it's not like they're new to the game. I just found Bitcoin. They know what Bitcoin's all about. Right? Like, let's be honest. They're like, they've been in this a long time. To say that, selling these pictures for one big, where the fuck they sell it as, is not a scam, and they just overlooked it. They fucking know what they're doing. They fucking totally understand it. Do
you think the conference was a net benefit or not for Bitcoin?
That's a totally different topic.
Yeah, but isn't that the only question? Isn't it the only question at this point? No,
there's a lot to it. There's motives behind it. Who's running it? What's going to happen moving forward? So, right, you're looking at a very narrow viewpoint, but there's going to be a series of events that transpire as a result of it. Some are going to be within people's control. Some are without or outside people's control. And what happens, we'll see. But I can see historically the people that were behind it, what they've done, their actions will probably be repeated again. And at the expense of whom? Everybody that's in Bitcoin.
They're not forcing you to buy the fucking tickets and the shit. No, like, I don't know. Like, if I go next year, I'm not gonna be like, yo, sign me up for a fucking NFT or whatever they're called. What are they called again?
Ordinals?
Sign me up for an ordinal. Yeah. Like, I'm not gonna do that.
So like they could do what they want, and that's fine. And that's why I choose not to spend my time, which is the most precious asset, and any of our company's money for me to go there. Fuck that. If you want to go, that's your choice. That's your choice. It's your prerogative. But for me, my time, that's why I didn't watch anything. What am I going to learn from this? Not that I'm better than all this. I mean, there was a lot of good discussions. Jack Mallers, remember in the past, he was yoing his way through when he was the chief speaker. This year, he did a presentation about having Strike and BTC Pay Server there's now API that's built in. That was
an integration. Yeah.
pretty cool. Like that's a good thing that he brought up. So like there wasn't all like there was things that you looked at this conference that was actually pretty good, right? And even Trump coming on talking about Bitcoin, that's fucking massive. To have a former president and likely future president talk about Bitcoin, strategic reserve. I don't care if you think it's a good, bad idea, but the fact that you're talking about the most powerful nation in the history of people kind,
the reserve currency nation talking about holding a unbiased, uncontrollable money in their reserve instead of their own. It cannot be discounted. It cannot be discounted. And all caps in the chat saying the ends justify the means. I'm not. When people say the ends justify the means, it makes it sound like, you know, that's often like it's like an extreme example of something. Bitcoin Magazine is not forcing anyone to do anything. And so if people want to go there and buy the fucking t-shirts and the ordinals, like, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is if they're going to do that stuff, is it better than like, is it the lowest rung on the ladder? No. Okay. That's a low bar. Fine. I'll accept that criticism. I can't argue with you about that. But at the end of the day, like, think about what the conference has done for Bitcoin over just the last 3 years, 4 years, maybe 3 years. 3 years ago, you had the president of a relatively unknown Central American, South American, whatever El Salvador is, country come on and talk about buying Bitcoin and using it as a treasury asset. That was huge. 3 years later, you have the former president of the United States and the front runner to be the 47th president talking about using it as strategic reserve in the US. Directionally, that's huge. There'll be some people who say this would have happened without any of the conference stuff. Maybe. I can't say yes. I can't say no. It's impossible to prove or disprove that. But the idea that the conference hasn't helped drive that outcome is wrong. I don't think that's even debatable. Having all these guys in the same room, you know, bringing on someone like RFK last year, for sure the Trump team is looking at last year's roster. They see RFK was there. They see the positive press he got, and they go, we should think about doing this. And the reason you know that was the case is because even if Bitcoin Magazine got a text message from a Kamala Harris surrogate about her coming, like, that's big. And Bitcoin is apolitical. I agree. Bitcoin doesn't need politics to be successful. I agree. I've said many times on this show that I think engaging with politicians by and large is a waste. But you're fighting a battle for hearts and minds in a lot of ways in a country like the States or Canada or the European nations, where people don't necessarily see the erosion of their purchasing power as acutely as other places where Bitcoin has already started to grab hold. And so you sort of not need, but can allow these cult figures to contribute to a goal that you have in mind anyways. And so I would say, why not? Let's do it. And if there's some distasteful things in the opinion of some along the way, you know, I'm sure that you and I have said some distasteful things on this show too that people don't agree with. But I think by and large, what do we aim for? Try and be net positive. Try and share things we think make sense. Try and steer people away from stuff we don't think makes sense. And by the way, for people listening, watching, Len and I don't agree on the NFT thing. Of course, we don't, or we agree on the.
Wait, do we
thing.
not?
Yeah, we agree on it. Yeah, we agree. We agree on it. We agree on it. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. Like, it's not a great way to promote the conference. There's better ways I think they could have done it.
But I don't think they're using that to promote the conference. I think that was a separate issue.
Whatever. I mean, at some level,
fair,
there's these Venn diagrams have some overlap, and like, I would just say that you and me agree on a lot of the negatives, and I think we agree on a lot of the positives. My beef really isn't even with people in your camp. Let's say my beef is really more with like the predators who like go out of their way to slam David Bailey in the magazine, when the stream dies on YouTube, as if somehow that's like a Bitcoin magazine problem. To slam them for there was like an issue with like the audio or something like that. I forget exactly what it was. But like, if you go through Predator's feed, and it's not just him, he's just the one I saw on Saturday on Twitter. So there's probably hundreds, if not thousands more, just making the same comments. At some point, you have to like realize that not everyone is going to agree with everything that you think is right, true, and pure. But at the end of the day, you have so much more in common than you do, than you don't with these people. You know, the end game, the end mission, the goal of like Bitcoin being, you know, this monetary asset, sound money for the world to prevent, you know, debasement pain and stuff like that. Everyone agrees on this. And so why, you know, unsheath the dagger during the biggest moments for Bitcoin, certainly of that weekend and arguably in the last 5 years? Why choose that time? It doesn't make sense to me. I think that's the thing that I didn't like the most about the feedback I saw. But it sounds like broadly, then you and me agree. Like that conference was a big deal.
No, agreed. But
that was a big deal.
The negative that people, and I don't want to pick on Predator here, but the negative that she, because I don't know if it's a she too, is doing, it's because there's a reason behind it. Because let's be honest, Predator has a beef with the people that are scamming, right? Like it's bringing up these beer, and I can't believe we're talking about this now, but the BRC20 tokens and these ordinals.
Did they even sell ordinals this year?
I don't know if they sold it, but it's the lead up to it. The fact that they were involved in it, they put a website, they're promoting it. UTXO management is involved. This is all fucking part of the whole thing. And because of that, you have now the people that are involved with the Bitcoin magazine, the Bitcoin conference, we're gonna have to just unfortunately throw them in the same thing. So when something goes bad, you can say, look, these guys that were, you could say they were fucking scamming people, right? Like there's nothing that a BRC20 token or an ordinal does to advance Bitcoin, to make Bitcoin better, to improve somebody's life financially or any otherwise. It's just simply trying to take money away from new participants to say, look at this. This is something that's going to make you money. And you know, it's rare. It's one of a kind. You buy this because of this, the rarity. It's going to probably go up in price, and they sell it and make money. It's like, but you're taking money from these people. Like, I don't want to police everybody, but like, I'm going to call out somebody that's a scammer, right? Like, you can do it. There's no laws against it, but there's nothing for stopping me to say you're fucking wrong, and they're fucking wrong. But that's why Predator's saying that, because he's fucking pissed off, and so am I, with the people that just continually scam and try to take money. Fucking opportunists, you know, like. There's one thing about making money. It's another thing about just fucking trying to rape somebody because they're new in the fucking system, to just take them for everything they got and just leave them to the side of the road and say, fuck you. You made your purchase. Sorry. Next time come around, we've got something else to sell you. Like, that's fucking bullshit, man. And at the same time, you're spamming the network, making it more challenging and difficult for somebody like you or me to send a transaction, more costly. Like, there's no net gain from this. That's the people that are involved with this. But I don't want to talk about this too much. Like, we have our disagreements. There's something I do want to talk about is the speech. And fuck, the fact that he's talking about Gensler and firing him.
I know.
And then the reaction. I don't understand what's the issue with Gensler. Like, forgive me, you know, Gensler is the guy that is the chief, the head, whatever, of that walled garden over there, right?
Yeah.
And you know, they could do what they want. That's fine. We may disagree with everything or a lot of things they do, but come on, man, like, fire him. I don't think he's been a terribly bad actor with respect to what's going on. I mean, granted, the ETF approvals were very delayed.
I would say he's been pretty bad. I'd say he's been.
Has he? Like, he's gone after Ripple.
Yeah,
he's gone after shitcoins.
I think you want to talk about opportunists and dishonest actors like this guy's one. Don't forget, okay, he masquerades behind the sword and shield of consumer protection for every single thing related to Bitcoin, even ETH. You know, like, you can love ETH or hate ETH or whatever. You know, you and me, obviously, like, the show is not called Canadian Crypto Podcast, it's called Canadian Bitcoiners Podcast. So you know how we feel about it. But, you know, a lot of people don't feel that way. And arguably, you know, Ethereum is better than God knows how many stupid securities this idiot let trade over the course of his tenure as leader of the SEC. And, you know, he's talking about how we got to protect people from FTX and from blah, 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 blah. Doesn't say anything about Coinbase. Doesn't say anything about, remember, like, he, you know, they went through their S1 filing and he never stopped them from going public, even though they're allegedly trading unregistered securities. He's still in a suit with them over that issue, while the ETFs that he approved are using Coinbase for custody. This guy's a clown. He's a clown. I think he should be fired. Clearly, I think posturing for political office maybe is like the most generous interpretation of what this moron's done. But I don't know.
Hey,
Listen, I want to say a couple things about the chat here. I am with you, Madman Monroe, that Bitcoin and crypto will always be tribal as fuck. I believe that to be the case. It's never going to change. Bitcoin all caps disagrees with what I said earlier. But I love you anyways, buddy. And Pablo from Bull met enough scammers, traders, and shitcoiners to last 1,000 lifetimes at the conference. That I believe. And I even felt like at the Canadian Bitcoin conference. There was
wait, he didn't mention
the
conference. I think he's just talking in general. Or do you think he's talking specifically about the conference?
I think he's talking about the conference. Yeah.
Okay. And that's no reflection of the conference itself. People will sign up to anything, and
yeah.
I'm not going to hold them.
Remember we went to, I remember I was thinking about this the other day when I was kind of just reflecting on the stuff that we've done in big groups, because I knew we were going to talk about this tonight. And remember Safari we went to, and I like brought the cameras and the mic and we did a live show.
Yeah.
And that was like a Bitcoin meetup. Like Foss was there. They announced a Bitcoin conference. There was at least 2 guys there, one with like what could have been a fake ass mustache, talking to us about how he made a bunch of money selling NFTs, and he was just like begging for engagement. He's just like begging for someone to like talk to him about it. And I just remember thinking like, this is so cringe. It's like any group you get into now, Bitcoin or otherwise, you're always going to have people who are like, what's the meme? I love Bitcoin. What about this shitcoin? Right. And so I'm grateful that Bitcoin Magazine has, at least in my opinion, not gone down that road to the point where it's like a concern for me. But, whatever. All in all, then, I think we're both happy that this has become a huge political issue at this point. Candidates on both sides of the aisle are forced to talk about it and take a stance on it. The Democrats released a letter shortly before the conference talking about how they have to come off this anti-crypto stance ASAP, because a lot of people are single issue voters when it comes to this stuff. And all 3 candidates now basically have, been forced to share their thoughts on Bitcoin. You love to see it. Do you not? You love to see it. You're not nearly bullish enough, Anon. Okay. If you're like, not you, the average person who's like, ooh, the price is too low for that. Like, you got
even I'm not bullish enough. And I can tell you, like, to say that they're going to buy, I forget the amount of Bitcoin that Lummis was saying that they want to purchase. 25% of the total.
4 million. Yeah.
4 million. Okay. Whatever number it is, but 4 million is fucking a lot. Holy shit. How did they buy this? Right? Like, let's just play.
Are you selling?
No. Let's play this out. Right? Like, never mind that you might have a.
Did you want to talk about any other Bitcoin stories? Because we're coming.
I do. There's tons I want to talk about. This one is very important though, because to do that right now, they do not have enough incoming revenue to meet all their obligations. There's a deficit every year, and it has been for the past 20-ish years or so. So in order to do this, they will have to borrow / print, whatever term you want to use, to accomplish the buying of the Bitcoin. That alone is an admission that the US dollar is failing, because they're going to be trading an asset that they are predicting that is going to be worth less in the future.
Yeah.
Compared to the asset that they're purchasing. If the people managing and administering the money don't have faith in that maintaining value, nobody should.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't think any of us are as bullish as we should be. If you take that and just extract that information and process it, you realize, holy fuck, the US dollar is going to absolutely tank. The people that are running it believe so. I have zero faith in it. You should have zero faith in it. And everybody listening and watching should have zero faith in it.
Agreed.
They're buying Bitcoin with it, or at least they're talking about buying Bitcoin with it.
I mean, even if they are not buying Bitcoin, you can see with the level of debt they take on, they think that they can just inflate the currency away so that that doesn't matter. Like, this is clearly the playbook, whether they buy Bitcoin or not at this stage. And so it only makes sense. Worth revisiting. Pierre Rochard wrote an article, like, I don't know, 10 years ago, I think I saw 10 or 15 years ago. No, it couldn't be 15, but 10 years ago, about how the US government should be using the dollar to buy Bitcoin, the speculative currency attack. And rings true today, man. That's really what this is. If they use the dollar to buy Bitcoin, it is a speculative currency attack, which is insane for a government to carry out. But there's other people talking about like the strategic worthiness of devaluing the dollar going forward, right? Make life easier for for Americans. I don't know. I haven't looked into that enough, but there's a lot of moving parts here, man. And the crazy thing, in my opinion, too, we are, I think, 3 weeks removed from an assassination attempt on a presidential candidate, and the speed at which the campaign is moving, both in terms of issues and in terms of sort of general broad strokes politics of both parties, it's accelerating. And it's crazy how fast this is moving. It truly is just what's the quote? May you live in interesting times. I think we're benefiting from that big time over the last 8 or 9 years, and Bitcoin's been a big part of it, and it's becoming a bigger part. So I'm excited, man. It's hype. And I love how, I don't know what your experience with this has been, but I'm going into the office tomorrow. I didn't go today. I'm going tomorrow. I expect to get questions from people about the Trump Bitcoin conference speech.
I don't know. That sounds interesting that you're going to have a normie pre-coiner maybe.
I think they will.
About it.
I think people will be asking because they know if people at work only know like 3 things about me. 1, I'm more muscular and more handsome than they are. 2, I like Bitcoin, and 3, I like Trump. So I think there's a real possibility that I get those questions tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to answering them. More interest is good interest, right? Unless it's on the national debt, but otherwise, yeah, I think it's great. What else you want to hit?
Lots of. I'm just gonna
rapid fire,
fold when public,
PTI style.
Yeah, fold when public. Whatever, we'll skip that.
Who cares? Keep spinning the wheel if you have the Fold app. Don't uninstall it if you're in Canada, because I'm pretty sure you can't get it back. So
anyone wants us to talk about these, let us know. We'll just come back to it. BitAxe. It looks like there was a lucky BitAxe user.
Huge. That's huge.
But we'll move on. This is one that I don't think we should skip, because you've been critical of a company that done something similar. Marathon said that they're going to buy $100 million worth of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And in the past, we had Bitfarms buy Bitcoin at around a $40,000 range. And I think we've been both critical about the move. But either way, this Marathon decision is going to net them around 1,500 Bitcoin, give or take. They also plan to not sell any of the Bitcoin that they mine in the foreseeable future.
Come on.
Things could change, of course, but at least they're saying
my criticism, I won't speak for you, but I think you're the same. My criticism is not buying the Bitcoin. If I had 100 million sitting around, I'd be buying Bitcoin too. My criticism is that they are always forced sellers at a lower price because of the way that industry works, because they need OpEx money when shit is going poorly. And so what do? You have to sell or use your cash position to float your business.
Joey, where did they come up with $100 million?
I don't know.
No, there's no Bitcoin mining company that has $100 million.
Are they selling ordinals?
I don't know what they're doing. So the question I have is, and I couldn't find the answer to it, is how are they raising this money? What sort of debt is the debt tied to the interest rate? Is a floating debt? I don't know. A lot of questions I would love to have answers to, but really, this is just essentially just doing the micro strategy. Right? You're just buying up Bitcoin. So for that, I can't say that's terrible.
So in Q1, ending in, this is the May report from Mara. The company's net income was only 340 million. So presumably, that's
how? Not that. How did they get to $100 million?
Well, 100 million is 100 million. If they didn't dilute,
it's debt then.
It doesn't look like it. I think they just use some of their cash position.
They also have 20,000 Bitcoin on the balance sheet. That's a lot of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So that could be partially or wholly how they're getting this.
Either way,
somebody's lent them the money.
Loan and then buying. Yeah, maybe.
So
I don't think it's really true they're being lent money. If they're making 400 million a quarter net, then they don't need a loan for 100 million. That's not that much.
There's not many.
I was pre-halving though, I should mention, right? Because Q1, it would have been March. So
who the hell knows? Yeah. Anyways, Semler Scientific, I'm not sure if you saw that one. They're going to raise $150 million through dilution, and they're going to go the MicroStrategy route of buying more Bitcoin. So it's another one that's doing that.
Why not? Semler guy on stage with Saylor at the conference. Yeah.
So that's it's partially why I guess this was all came out this week. So new Bitcoin buyers aside from Semler and Marathon, we have Jersey City going to be buying it. Their mayor was saying that their pension fund is going to start allocating a small bit to buying Bitcoin. The percentage is unknown, but that's interesting. But not just them. We also had another one. The state of Michigan purchased 110,000 shares of ARC21 shares. That's worth nearly $6.6 million. So you have the state of Michigan and then also Jersey City. Look, there's going to be more of these moving forward. And I don't want to talk about the method in which they're using. I wish they bought spot and held it rather than using an ETF. But either way, there's going to be more of this type of news coming out. And there's so many pension plans out there. There's so many states, like, think of all the states out there that might have some money that they want to spend. So buy your Bitcoin now before it's just all gone and it's just going to go parabolic. Financial advice, of course.
Yeah, you're 100% right. We'll talk a bit about pensions and whatnot in the notable side. I was going to say the Canada side, but the notable side. A couple things on this. I think I tweeted this, or maybe I just wrote it and decided not to. But the thing to keep in mind here isn't necessarily that more pensions will want to do this, or that there's like a first mover advantage, or any of this stuff. These are important things, but they're not like the most important thing in my opinion. What you have here now is a benchmark. And so these pensions who buy 6 million or 5 million or 10 million or whatever, drop in the bucket. Municipal pensions, state pensions, they're huge players. Famously, I've said this on the show before, that in the show Billions, which is on HBO or Showtime, like major show, Paul Giamatti's in it, Damian Lewis is in it, like huge names. The girl from that motorcycle show where they're always slapping each other's leather jackets. I forget. This is years ago. Anyway, these guys are all in it. There's an entire 2 episodes or an episode and a half dedicated to these guys courting this hedge fund, courting the Ontario teacher's pension. These things are huge. They're huge. So 6 million is not that big a deal. But the benchmark is, because now inside that fund, the people who are leading that fund are going to be looking at that quarter over quarter, year over year, 4-year stretch over 4-year stretch, and saying, what performed the best? Was it our NASDAQ position? Was it our long-term bond position? Was it our, whatever, our indexes? What did we buy that did the best? Was it real estate? Was it REITs? Whatever. I mean, I know what the answer is going to be already over 5 years. It's going to be Bitcoin. It's going to be Bitcoin. And these other pensions are not going to wait 5 years because they are held to the standard of their industry, which is something we never talk about. Everyone says, look at the way that certain investment firms are performing because they have Bitcoin in their allocation, they have Bitcoin in their fund, whatever. Pensions don't care about hedge funds. Pensions don't care about retail investors or family offices or any of these things. They don't care because it's not the same standard. Okay. The same way endowments don't care about that, or like these major cruise liner type investment outfits. What they want to see is in silo comps for allocation size, for performance, and for expectation going forward. And so what you're going to see now are other pensions finally looking at Michigan, Jersey City, and saying, yeah, these guys did it. We should do it too. And the other thing that I think you're going to find is Jersey City. I don't know if they can do this because I'm not sure what the sort of expectations are, the general mores of the pension game. But would you be surprised to see like Jersey City and Michigan's pension boards, investment boards, starting to make public facing statements about Bitcoin? Writing documents about it, because there's not many other things investment wise where you can do that at the pension level and influence the outcome, right? Like if you start writing about the benefits of investing in NVIDIA as a pension, the price is not going to move. If you start writing about the benefits of investing in gold as a pension, the price is not going to move. But you could maybe move it with Bitcoin. And I think that you're going to start seeing these guys look across the table at each other for the first time, because now you're starting to see real players get into this on the pension side. And like you said, it's the ETF, it's not spot, whatever. I'm with you. I wish they would hold spot, but I think there's reasons they can't, at least for the moment. They're going to start looking at this and taking it more seriously. Maybe even, Len, to your point, what you will see as more pensions get into it is a company like CASA or River or Unchained come up with a self-custody solution for a pension that covers the bases as far as the law, covers the bases as far as the investment board, covers the bases as far as, XYZ, and allows them to self-custody and get out of the ETFs. The demand for those products isn't there yet, but as more of these things come in, they may be there. And I think there's PMF for self-custody at the pension level in this, not quite sovereign level, obviously, but it's coming slowly but surely. It's coming. This is the first step, right? It's really good to see, and not a mystery, again, to my earlier point, that these things happen the weekend of the conference, because that's when everyone wants to hear about Bitcoin. When all the eyes are on Bitcoin, that's when you release the news. That's when you get good press, and they are getting good press. I haven't seen any negative stories about that anywhere. So kudos to those two.
Proton Mail.
Yeah.
Not sure if you saw that one, but they've
right?
released a new wallet. Yeah. And if people that are interested, proton.me/wallet. It's currently beta. I haven't signed up to it, so I haven't tried it, of course. Like, I wouldn't be able to provide any insight into it. But from what I understand, you do have to open up, or at least tie it to a Proton Mail account. So if you're going to do this, you might as well open up a new Proton Mail account. I would also, if you're going to do it, maybe use Tor/VPN as.
Do you have a Proton Mail account?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Good. Everyone, I mean,
several
these days,
they're free.
Yeah, everybody should have one. I've actually thought about getting a premium one. I think it's only like $25 a year or something like that.
I don't know. What do you get out of it? I mean,
you get more identities, and you get some other stuff like calendars and whatnot. I would love to get the fuck off of Gmail, honestly, but I'm just so interwoven in there at this point that
one day.
Yeah. I mean, anyway, sorry for the time, but yeah, go ahead.
Anyways, yeah, this wallet is available if you want to just sign up. This might be a good way. I mean, I'm looking at this as a way to introduce Bitcoin to privacy-focused individuals that are yet to, so pre-coiners.
How many people using Proton don't know about Bitcoin, though?
I don't know. Again, I don't interact a lot with normies, so it's hard for me to say. I would hope that they all do, but
the dream.
What the fuck do I know?
The dream,
right? So, anyways, they're planning to make this as seamless as just sending an email when you send Bitcoin. So you could send email simply by using a Proton email address. So if both the sender and recipient have the wallet, you could just send your Bitcoin using a Proton email address, which is rather cool.
Yeah.
Proton will not reuse Bitcoin addresses for privacy reasons. This is good. They say it's non-custodial, only for on-chain at the moment. They say Lightning may be something they can implement in the future, but nothing for sure. And they say there's coin joins that's also being done. But from what I gathered, you're still dealing with an online device. The keys are associated with something that's online. So that's the one thing that's kind of concerning to me. That's why I like my cold card. The keys are never exposed online. But I guess for small transactions, it's fine. But I wouldn't, based on what I know right now, I could be wrong, but I wouldn't trust it for anything for significant sums of Bitcoin, just because you're getting the keys online. Proton
Unlimited, 200 for the year. I might use CBP money for this at the end of our fiscal year if we got money to burn. 500 gigs of storage, Len, 15 email addresses, 3 email domains, unlimited folders, labels and filters, 25 calendars, and high-speed VPN on 10 devices. That's not bad. That's actually not a bad deal. Yeah.
Yeah, but the emails, you could sign up as many as you want for free. VPN, you could go to Mulvad and it's, what is it, like €5 a month. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if you want just an all-in-one solution, that's fine.
Yeah,
maybe it works.
I'm always looking for all-in-ones. Anyway, yeah, Queen Calliope in the chat. You get folders. You get more than that, Queen Calliope. Okay, don't be sassy in the chat.
Cantor Fitzgerald, I don't want to gloss over this one. This is rather big news because they're going to be launching a Bitcoin financing business. It's going to launch a $2 billion with a B initial financing. This is going to allow people that have Bitcoin to leverage their Bitcoin. So rather than simply selling it, you could go to them. This is huge in 2 ways. Number one, by not selling your Bitcoin, you're not going to be subjected to capital gains tax. That's number one. But number two, people that have their Bitcoin, now they have a way through an established firm to use that and get more capital. Now, I'm not trying to suggest people do this.
You should, though. If you're thinking about selling, this is what you should be looking at first.
Potentially. Yeah. Potentially as an option. This is truly a fiat solution to a lot of, but I think by allowing this, it's going to open up doors to a lot of businesses to own Bitcoin, but not just own Bitcoin. They're going to have to own spot. They can't simply use an ETF and take advantage of this.
Yeah.
So it's going to be advantageous for them to buy and hold on to their Bitcoin if they want to start using this type of service. So there is a lot of negative to it, especially if this gets highly used and there's a massive drawdown. It could unwind the market, and we've seen this happen in the past, and it could tremendously bad results. But this is a fiat thing. I think
but it's good though, is it not? Like I just saw Willie Woo tweet about something today in response to Schiff, and actually this is an interesting. It's in the same vein. You know, Schiff saying people who never sell their Bitcoin, like you're never going to be able to make money on it, blah, blah, blah. And Willie Woo responded, like, this is, everyone knows this, by the way. You hear this from Bitcoin guys. You hear this from, you know, real estate guys like the Caradzas. You hear this from stock guys, you know, famously guys like Tim Cook and Bezos do this with the Amazon and Apple stock that they have. The trick is to never sell your assets ever, no matter what. It is to take fiat loans against the value of your assets, because everyone knows that the currency will be debased and the loan will eventually be worthless. Like this is the whole game. It's the whole game. On a smaller scale, if you want to see what this looks like, see what happened to people who were forced to sell in the last 7 months in Canada and the US as rates stayed high and really started to cause pain for the average household. See what happens to those people's bank accounts and asset holdings as they, you know, siphoned out hard assets, equities, home equity, whatever, sold their homes potentially and downsized to save themselves mortgage money. And then see what happens to people who didn't sell any Bitcoin, didn't sell any assets, didn't sell any real estate, didn't sell any equities over the next 5 years. The inflation will keep driving up the price of the hard assets, the limited assets, and the loans are static. Like the dollar value is the dollar value. It doesn't, the purchasing power is not accounted for in the total money owed. And so to me, it's like fucking insane that people don't realize this, but I think this is a really good option. And Cantor Fitzgerald, by the way, you know what they're infamous for in the Bitcoin space? They hold all the tether bonds. So they're a big player. They're a big player.
Okay.
They are dare I say crypto native.
Yeah, they say they hold a shitload of Bitcoin or something like that.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, but then again, like remember I mentioned, if things start to unwind, it goes fucking awful.
But the leverage is not quite the same, right? It's not like, you know, they have the Bitcoin if something goes sideways.
I'm not saying they're probably going to be okay. I'm talking about the market as a whole, because then you got a systemic, like
force sellers if the price drops. Yeah,
and
it
just drives it down. And we've had this 2 years ago. So that's what I'm trying to say. Like there could be some fiat gains that's going to really impact the price moving forward, at least the value of Bitcoin moving forward. And I guess that's always been the case, but potentially even more so. Joey, that's it for Bitcoin stuff. I think we should just transition.
Great. Good session there. Stay here if you're on video. Come back if you're on audio. Until then, take care of yourselves.
Yeah, have a good time with your Bitcoin and everything else you're playing with. Hopefully not your junk.
God. 108.18. Okay. Notables. Where do you want to start?
The Olympics.
Okay.
The Olympics. Yeah, let's talk about this.
Mess. The Ozempic opening ceremonies. Sorry, Olympic opening ceremonies.
These are notes I got from the Associated Press, and they were talking about an article. The opening ceremonies were very unique, and they had like a naked singer painted blue. They had a drag queen there. Yeah. Menage a trois was almost shown on camera until the doors slammed shut at the tail end of
what?
Yeah, there was intimate embrace between two men that danced away, hugging, holding hands. So like there's a lot of stuff going on. The LGBTQ Last Supper. We also had, I'm not sure, this kind of is flying under the radar, but the Olympic rings that are there, they're multicolored. So that's another, like, they had the beheading of Marie Antoinette, at least, I mean.
Yeah. I saw that.
There's so much thing. Like I don't understand. Anyways, CBS News says the organizers behind the Paris Olympics had to apologize to anybody that was offended. Like, I get it. The Olympics, it's about being inclusive, right? Like, you don't want it to shut anybody out, and that's cool. Like, to embrace people and to make it a big party for everybody. But you know what? You don't want to have the ball sack of somebody being shown on TV, which that's what happened. Like, there was somebody's ball sack shown. Like, really, what the fuck are they trying to achieve here? And in response, the International Olympic Committee even had a video removed of the opening ceremony from YouTube, and they're trying to also hide this and try to get this removed from X as well.
Their claim is that there's jurisdictional issues with posting the video. I'm not sure I buy that, but continue.
Well, I don't know. There's so much that just rubs a lot of people the wrong way, and okay, we'll leave that alone because that is what it is. But even the games themselves, the first day of the games, I can't believe I'm kind of laughing at this, but the Australian cycling team, I'm not sure if you saw this, the very first day they got there, they got robbed.
Yeah.
And their equipment, and they ended up finding it not too long after. But man, like they even have the swim that's supposed to take place in the river. It's now they can't take place because
second day in a row. Yeah.
Yeah, heavy rain. So they try to get rid of all the feces in it, but heavy rains have just, I guess, who knows?
They have a unified. They have a
fucking
unified sewer
disaster.
system. Yeah, they have a unified sewer system over there. So when you get a lot of rain, the backflow is actually not just rainwater, but it's your
Everything.
piss and shit too.
Yeah.
I mean,
doing it at the beaches. It's also people just doing it in their
if there was ever a don't get fired story, it's got to be this one. I think.
Somebody noticed. They also had a power outage across the city. Yes.
Yeah, Queen Kelly opened the chat there. Yeah, you're right.
Very true.
I mean, I'm not a particularly easy guy to offend. I don't have, these sort of pearl clutching sensitivities. I think a lot of the right wing influencers are like, "Oh, this is terrible, blah blah blah." It's let me just say this, okay? There is a culture war going on all over the world, and one side of the culture war wants to make it so that there is just nothing that is outside of the window in terms of acceptable behavior, whether it's three ways at the Olympic opening ceremony, insulting the Last Supper, or any number of other things that were on display during that opening ceremony event, or any other behaviors in broader society. Okay, everything cannot be acceptable. This is just not. It's not how functioning societies work. There has to be limits on the indulgences of the flesh. And, I'm not, like I said, overly religious, Len. I'm not particularly offended by the Last Supper thing. I was raised Catholic, but I've since kind of distanced myself from the church. Although I will say I'm more spiritual now than I think I've ever been. But, you think you could make fun of Islam the same way they made fun of Catholicism during that opening ceremony? Or no?
I'm probably gonna say no.
Yeah, I would say no too.
Remember when was it?
Charlie Hebdo is also happened in France, right? They learned their lesson. They learned their lesson about which religion they could offend without having a mass shooting happen, a mass murder event happen. And I think that's cowardice on the part of the organizers. Other thing I would note, I'll try and pick my words carefully here. Are they adding fans by doing this sort of thing, you think? Or are they losing fans by doing this sort of thing? What is the net, the net flow of viewers for the rest of the Olympics based on that opening ceremony?
If I'm going to guess, it's in that negative. The people that are very traditional in their lifestyle, and you could even point to people that are devout Islamists. They're not going to do it, and there's no way you're going to have a net gain from this. Like, you're just going to piss off more people. I don't understand why they would do this. It seems like there was a message they were trying to push down people's throats. For what reason? I don't know.
That's a good question. And what is the job of the opening ceremony organizers? Is the job to establish your political beliefs and share them with the world, or is it to promote the Olympics?
That's all it is. It's just
the Olympics are
a bunch of people getting together
at this point. What, 1,000, 2,000-year-old tradition almost. Like, some of these games are, and so, like, are you really? Again, like, I feel sometimes I have to grapple with this idea that I'm pro clutching, but I don't think I am here. This is a tradition that's older than so many others, and we've seen over the last 10 or 15 years traditions that used to be really valued in society, sacred almost, eroded because of political interference and this inability to separate politics from culture. And these things should be separate. I don't think that's really a debatable thing. And more sports are coming to this conclusion. The NHL is starting, obviously, to like, get away from political expression and things of this nature in their games. Baseball as well. Football, I think, will be next. At some point, you have to ask, like, who are you trying to appeal to, and what message should you be trying to send? And to me, it's like a traditional athletic event. Do you need the three-way? Do you need the drag queen Last Supper? What about the Olympics does that represent? Which tradition?
It should just be athletes. It should just be talking about people's accomplishments in terms of how they qualified and what they've done in terms of maybe records they're setting, personal best, world records. On top of that, like on a little bit different but similar, like going forward, who would want to bid on an Olympic game? Look at what's going on in whatever country you're in. I'm assuming whatever country you're in, the books aren't balanced year over year.
There's no country with balanced books at this point, right?
Would anybody want to bid on an Olympic game when you're going to have to spend a lot of money for security, for upgrading, for building new facilities? Granted, there may be some benefit in the end, because you might have to build new apartments or improve infrastructure, but you could just simply do that without bidding on the Olympic Games and you'll come out way ahead. So I'm trying to say, like, for this, and even like stuff like FIFA, like, why would anybody want to support these type and put a bid in? Just don't, and spend your money wisely and other things. Like, why do it? And you're making it also more difficult for the residents during that period of time when the games are running. Like, I'm sure the people in Paris have to adjust their lives now that they have a whole bunch of new people coming in. For better or for worse, they're going to have to do that. So, like, if you have a schedule where you have to go to work, maybe they can't go to work and they have to adjust their schedule accordingly. So, like, I'm looking at this. This thing it's not just the celebrating of thousands of years of games. There's a lot. It's a business, and there's a lot of greasing of palms and stuff.
Yeah,
I'm saying this especially with FIFA. This happened in the past. I don't know if it's still happening, but man, oh man! Like, look, what was it? Qatar? How did Qatar win? Like,
because it's crooked. The IOC is the most crooked institution on the face of the earth. It's not even close.
Yeah,
these people are the definition of backhanded briefcase exchanges. There's like no one worse than these parasites, and this is the product you get.
Like,
because you stand to get rich. You like that. I mean, why does anybody do anything? Like Tony Kornheiser always says, the answer to all your questions is money. And here's another example. Anyway,
this should be something that's on a ticket. If you want to go ahead with it, vote for me, and this is something I propose. If you don't like it, don't vote for me. And if people vote it, then
it probably has been at like the municipal level in the past, right? Or the provincial.
Has it? This is not just the municipal level. This is a bigger thing.
I agree with you, but I think it's been on state tickets before. I am sure that provincial politicians have talked about Olympic bids in the past.
And that is talk about a one voter issue. Anyways, let's go on to California.
Sure.
And Newsom, I'm not sure if you saw this, but he's cracking down on homeless.
I love this. Isn't this so funny?
So yeah, this past week he issued an executive order to get rid of all homeless encampments in the state of California.
Yeah.
And according to a post on X, Newsom wrote, "No more excuses. We provided the time. We provided the funds. Now it's time for locals to do their job."
Cool.
So yeah, and like I understand these camps, they're eyesore, but the problem is, where do they go? They just simply can't disappear. The homeless exists, and according to the Associated Press, California has about 1/3 of all the homeless in the entire United States.
Nice. That's a big chunk. That's a huge chunk.
And I guess for a number of reasons, weather being probably one of them. If you have no home, so you have to ask, like, why are these people homeless? I guess some people can't find jobs because they don't have enough to support themselves, right? Because if you look at the cost of rent, the median household income is for somebody that is without a home is $960 a month. Rent is $1,400 a month, so they can't afford rent. So others, there's maybe some condition, either it's a physical or a mental condition, something that's just preventing them from getting a job and making ends meet. There's even probably a small number of people out there that may be lazy. I think they make up a small percentage of all homeless, but that's just my opinion. Could be wrong, but I don't think that they're very measurable. Either way, there's a lot of people just because of circumstances they can't get a job and now they're homeless. And that's just too bad. But
Yeah.
as for removing the camps, the state said they're gonna what they give reasonable, I'm using air quotes here, notice to the homeless and offer to connect them to local services and help store their belongings for at least 60 days. If you're homeless, what sort of belongings do you have to store?
Buddy, you seen the shopping carts some of these guys have? They're accumulating.
And I feel bad for that's their livelihood. It's all stuck in that little cart.
Yeah.
And it's going to require a huge coordinated effort to solve this problem. It's not just simply sweeping this shit under the rug. You got to do something, go to the source, try to fix it. Look, I guess it's an election year and they want to improve things. They had Xi there earlier this year and they probably saw the results from that and they want to try to copy that everywhere. But really, what the fuck are you gonna do with these homeless? They gotta go somewhere.
Put them in the woods.
They gotta do something.
Put them away. What they want is these homeless people away from cameras, right? That's my guess. They want them in shelters. They want them in heavily wooded areas. They want them out of the state. They want them whatever. We will see where they end up. California, one of many locales, as you mentioned earlier, it does not have balanced books, does not have money to support all these homeless people. So what are they going to do? There's a long-standing debate between, I think, addiction pragmatists and addiction sympathizers about whether or not you should be able to force treatment on publicly addicted individuals. And California seems to be going down this road where they're going to force treatment. If you're telling a homeless person you're going to quote unquote connect them with the services they need, while also telling them they cannot go back to being on the street, what are you really doing? That's forced treatment, right? Now, I personally am not for forced treatment, but you have to criminalize public consumption of serious narcotics that, is a risk to the public good. And to me, that's not the same as forced treatment. So let's see what Newsom does and what the state does. You and me have talked about California a bunch over the years. And it seems to me like over the time we've been doing the show, things have gotten progressively worse there, right? This might be the first time where you've seen a story from California where you think this is a good idea to get these people off the street. So I got to give them some credit. The question is, like I said earlier, where are they going to go? And, as you mentioned, there's no way to get rid of them. So they have to go somewhere. Let's see what happens. We can only sit back and watch and wait for next week on Canadian California podcast.
You got to go to the root. They're homeless for the most part. I'm going to say here. I'm sorry if I'm painting everybody with the same brush, but they probably just don't have the ability to make enough. So they have to somehow earn money and continually earn money. And so they could pay for rent or eventually buy a home and then pay for food. And that gets them off the street. But how do you get there? How do we train people, or how do we help people that just don't have the ability because of physical or mental conditions or even substance abuse? I don't know, man.
That's getting harder and harder.
And it gets worse and worse because the price of shit goes up and it gets harder to maintain just a bare minimum. And that's because money has been devalued and continues to get devalued. And this is not something that's just a recent phenomenon. 2% inflation, which they're trying to achieve, is still devaluing money, albeit at a slower pace. So let's go to North. Let's go to Canada.
Can we talk about the monetary policy report?
We can. We will. The floor is yours.
Okay. So I was saying to Len before the show, I think I might start doing a video on these reports every month because number one, I want to learn. And number two, there's a lot of stuff in here that is meaningful for Bitcoiners and Canadians broadly. I said to Len before we went to the air that to me, the tone of this report is the tone of a group of people who are tired of being right and pretending they are not. And it's a group that I think understands there's a potential that they have a different master come next fall. So let's dive into this a little bit. So this monetary policy report is about 25 pages long. There's an executive summary, among other things here. And, reading something like this can be a little bit intimidating if you've never done it before, or if you don't, have a podcast where you're talking about this stuff all the time. But I think people who listen to and watch this show probably also listen to and watch other shows that cover similar content, maybe not specifically Canadian, but you've heard enough of these terms and understand enough of these systems to know that the Bank of Canada, for all its flaws, is starting to stop pulling punches when it comes to its criticisms of economic policy and other things that are going on in the country. So a handful of things here. The outlook for Canada, not great. I will tell you that we are in kind of this slow decline when it comes to all the G7 nations. I'm kind of just picking through my my bookmarks here. So what you see, this is really terrible because we've sort of been told this story about immigration, for example, okay, and we've been critical of that story for a long time on this show because we can see in our day-to-day lives and we can see in the data that immigration as a economic policy has failed. The experiment has been run. It has failed. I don't know if you could say the same about other countries. I suspect probably you could, but I want to take a quote here from the Bank of Canada Monetary Policy Report. This is under the housing section. The increase in housing demand from newcomers is being felt across all types of housing, but the largest initial impact tends to be in rental markets. This is because most newcomers start out as renters. Growth, that's chart 3C. Growth in the housing supply has not kept up with the strong increase in demand, with construction activity remaining close to pre-pandemic levels. We've been bringing in 1 million people a year since 2020, and we're at pre-pandemic levels of home building. That's one problem. The other problem with the immigration policy that I think is really going underreported, but is what was pointed out by Rich Diaz, friend of the show, among others. I'm going to just draw on his tweet here because he's got the chart. This is chart 3B. And actually, I want to share this with people who are on video because this is important. And it's important for a couple of reasons, but mostly because there's an issue, I think, with the way we discuss immigrants' employment and potential. And specifically as it relates to demographics, there's a clear divide in what we can expect from an immigrant population coming into the country. So let's have a look at this. For people who are on audio, I'll read this out. This is the chart, a chart in the report. It's titled, "Newcomers are more likely than others to be unemployed across all working age groups." This is unemployment rate 2024 Q2 average, seasonally adjusted, quarterly data. Here's the problem, okay? This is Canadian born 15 to 24. You have about a Canadian born 15 to 24 unemployed. It's about 13%. Canadian born long-term immigrants, been here more than 5 years, is 15%. And Canadian unemployed newcomers is 17%. Significantly higher, okay? So you're talking about, 10, 15% increase over the Canadian born. Then things get really interesting in the 25 to 54 category. Canadian-born unemployment, just a little shy of 5%. Long-term immigrants, been here more than 5 years, 6%, 6.5%. Newcomers, close to 10% are not working within the first 5 years they get here. Now, if you think that's bad, let's go to the 55 plus. Now, don't forget, there's policies here that are being changed and molded over the last little while. You saw our immigration minister talk recently about caregivers being able to come over with PRs. So caregivers are often, children of parents. And so you're getting entire families coming over here, which includes a lot of people who are seniors. Now, I'm not knocking seniors for wanting to come here. I would want to come here too if it was a free ride. But the fact of the matter is we can't sustain a free ride. It's actually made more severe by the data. Canadian born, unemployed, 55 plus, 4%. Long-term immigrants, 4%. Newcomers, 15%. So you have a huge gap in what you can expect to see in terms of the differences between people who are working and people who are not working. The other problem is that you're seeing like all these 55 plus people coming over and not working. Do you expect the 55 plus crowd to get a job when they come here, Len, at all?
No, but there's more to this than meets the eye.
Go ahead.
So one group of people that are coming here is like if you look at from countries that are immigrating to Canada, India is one of the more populated countries. India,
it's like 3 or 4 times the next closest, India.
So, and if you look at the parents and grandparents that come over from India that are 55 plus, they're coming here for the most part, to take care of their children's children. So they're going to be providing. This is just the way it's done. It's just traditional in that society, which is fine. So they're not coming here to work. They're coming here to care for somebody. And that, what it does, it enables both of the parents of that child to go to work. That's historically how it's done.
That's the aim. Yeah. Okay.
And so that's why you're seeing a lot of them not work. So it goes a little bit further. Canada historically, if you look at the people that bring in for parents or grandparents, they tend to not bring as many comparatively to the other categories. And the reason being is they know, Canada understands that they're not going to be working in comparison to, say, somebody that's young. For example, if you bring in a young kid, like a father or mother sponsors their child to come here, it's likely that kid's going to be a productive member of society, go to school, then get a job and pay taxes and so forth. But an older person, probably not, because it's harder to get into the society that they're moving into, sometimes language barriers. So they try not to bring in that many people under those categories because they tend to be more of a burden than a long-term health, because older people need more healthcare. Older people, they tend to, they're just going to be taking services more so than adding to it. So that's why, that's what it is. That's why you're seeing them a lot in terms of numbers. Why they're not working is because they're coming here.
Yeah.
To care for their
I honestly think you're right, but I don't think it matters, because the jobs that immigrants are getting are low skill, low wage labor type jobs, Tim Hortons and whatnot, is like, sort of the famous meme. And so you would need 50 Tim Hortons staff to make up for 2 parents who are going to be, not only net draws, but only draws, like literally paying in $0 to the pension, to the benefits, to all the stuff that, Canada has been told this is the sort of golden goose of the modern world in terms of old age security, not in the technical sense, but sort of like lowercase old age security. And so I don't buy that. I think that's it's not your bullshit narrative, but I think it's a bullshit narrative. Because there's just no way that pouring coffees or driving Uber or, we've seen like lines crammed to the LCBO. You need so much more than just 2 working parents to care and pay the cost that the grandparents will take on the system. It's big. And to me, it's a huge net loss that's going to cost Canadians big time over the next 30 or 40 years, big time. Population growth in the aged 15 and older crowd in 2024 will be 3.3%. That's higher than anywhere else in the world. And as we heard earlier from the bank, there's no new housing, all still pre-pandemic levels. Peter St. Ange, who's become popular on Twitter over the last year or so, wrote an article that Zero Hedge carried called Canada's worst decline in 40 years. Some great charts here from the Financial Post and from the Monetary Report as well. Stuff that we've talked about a lot, the gap between affordability of homes and wages, the gap between nominal GDP and GDP per capita. It's a disaster. Here's another good one. The Canadian government is now paying $55.2 billion in annualized interest payments. That's more than the EI and children's benefits programs combined. Rates are at historic lows, Glenn, I think is the quote you are looking for. So all these things together, let's see if there's anything else I wanted to mention here. No, that's pretty much it from the Monetary Policy Report. I recommend you read it. It's on the Bank of Canada website. There's one every month. I was saying to Len, like I said before the show, I think I'm going to make a video on it and just go through it sort of point by point. But this is a major problem for Canadians, because as your quality of life slides, your productive class will leave. Everyone has a threshold for when they just, they don't want to take it anymore. And you're getting closer to that for a lot of people. I don't know where it is for me. My quality of life is pretty good. I get the feeling it's the same for you, Len. But I think there's a lot of people who are 20, 21, 22. I have a friend, actually my dental hygienist. I was talking to her young son. He's a finance major, just graduated. And I saw him at football. He was playing after us. Actually, we're playing them this week. I better get stretched out if I'm playing against the 21-year-olds. But he was saying that he graduated, Len, and he and like 50% of his friends are basically looking for jobs outside of the country already, because there's just no point in staying. Housing is too expensive. The wages are low, and the demand for these high skill people is high in the States. So this is another thing, right? That's not being accounted for yet. The brain drain that's not ever going to sort of make it to the Canadian, knowledge base balance sheet. These people are never going to work in Canada. They're going to come. They live here. They're born here. They're going to graduate post-secondary here, and then they're going to leave for greener pastures. That's bad, and that's another thing that's going to really contribute to this over the next 5 or 6 years, I bet. And you know what? You saw Freeland today tweeting out the newest, latest and greatest affordability measure, that the 30-year mortgages are available for first-time home buyers today, making your monthly payments more affordable. You'll only have to pay, 25%, 30% more in interest over the extra 5 years, and, sacrifice your pension as a part of your down payment for your $1 million shoebox in the sky. It's not good. And so, like I said to you before, like when we talk about buying Bitcoin and holding assets and using currency as a weapon to better yourself, this is what we're talking about. The currency will continue to debase. Everything will continue to get more expensive in terms of hard assets. And the debt is ultimately just a number. If you can stomach the payments, if you can stomach the total debt that you're carrying every day or whatever, like, I don't know. I've never been a big advocate of debt. I try not to keep that much myself, but shit, it's getting harder to make that recommendation, I think. Don't you agree?
I don't even want to touch that with a 10-foot pole, because I don't want to give anybody the inkling that you should do it or not do it, whatever you think is best. But Bank of Canada is making it easier for people to maintain and take on more debt, because they lowered their interest rates this past week by another 25 basis points. And this is the second month in a row, if I recall correctly, that they've done this. And their next meeting is September.
Yeah.
So there's going to be no cut in August, unless something, I guess, out of the ordinary comes up, or no raise as well. So it's going to be like just stand pat for the next 2 months. But yeah, they're making it a little bit easier for people to deal with this. So that, coupled with the 30-year mortgages, they're each on their own is not earth-shattering, but it makes it a little bit easier for people to enter the market. But that also makes it, there's more people in the market, and so the homes that they're all bidding for theoretically should, right?
Yeah. And we have a CPI component. It's like 30%, right? Rents and shelter. I mean, these guys are in between a rock and a hard place, and the finance minister tweeting yet again that, the conditions have been laid, the ground has been laid by the policymakers du jour for these rate cuts. And I would just point out that rate cuts come when economic weakness is on the horizon. I mean, it's like you're living in like kind of bizarro land at this point. It doesn't really matter to me. I don't care. My mortgage is not bankrupting me. I don't give a shit what the rate is. Honestly, it's, nice to pay more principal, I guess. But overall, Len, rough waters for Canada, 6 months, 8 months, 10 months. When do you think we really start to see it? When are you going to start to see people, sort of in your circle mentioning that, job security is not great, whatever. I mean, you're kind of already starting to see it, I think, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's what a Poverty Finance Canada. You see so
it's bad. I never go there. I can't. It's brutal.
So it's not like when it is, but to be honest, it was probably always the case. Just now it's more noticeable, especially when you drive around and you see homeless people at intersections asking for money for cars
everywhere.
Or homeless camps that are set up. And you just, man, it's really sad. And there's more noticeable too. And it's not an area in the country that's immune from this. Everybody seems to have a story and seen something that's close to home.
Agreed.
So it's getting back, like 30-year mortgages. It's not too long. We've had 40-year mortgages in the past. I think that it was the previous part, the other party that instituted the 40-year mortgages, and the Liberals brought it down to 25, if I recall correctly. Could be wrong. So it's not like there's appetite by either party to increase mortgages now. It seems like that's just what they want to just start handing out, or at least offering to people. 40-year mortgages might come back. It might become
that would be nuts. That'd be absolutely nuts.
When I first bought my house, that was an option, a 40-year mortgage. And man, like, you think about it, it's very attractive. It's like, wow, so your monthly payment's going to be that low? Wow, so I could buy way more of a home.
You'd just be a slave for the rest of your life. But
yeah, you do the math, it's like you'll be done when you're 95. What? Like, this is just. But Japan has 100-year mortgages or something like that.
How are things going over there? Pretty sure we're in at least one group chat where every morning there's a Japan tweet about things going sideways over there.
That's my canary in the coal mine type scenario, because
Kevin Muir, by the way, big Japan guy. Maybe I'll ask him what he thinks about the latest and greatest over the pond.
That the yen has gone crazy in the past few months, and it's almost like in a week you'll see it move up or down 3 or 4%, which is insane for a quote unquote stable currency.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, these things shouldn't move that much in that short a period of time. There should be some slow movement, and that's without much intervention from the Bank of Japan. I can't believe we're talking about Japan. We should be talking about Singapore, if anything. We got to do the Singapore segment. It's been a while since we talked about the Singapore dollar.
That's Patreon content only. Do you want to do one more story?
Let's see. We might as well do one more. Scotiabank?
Sure.
Or no, we could do Scotiabank or the feces story.
What, the beach thing?
No.
Oh, okay. What's the feces story?
So yeah.
Oh, they're hucking feces at the electrical guys?
Yeah, so St. Jamestown.
Oh my God.
This is an area of Toronto just east of Queen's Park. So it's in downtown Toronto. And there's a building within St. Jamestown complex over there that they've been throwing feces at electrical contracting teams over there. And there's a letter being distributed amongst residents in that building and just telling them, please stop harassing them and just don't throw human waste from the upper levels of the balconies at the workers below. I agree. So what they're doing, in fact, they decided to take matters in their own hands. They're hiring third-party security to protect the workers as they're trying to restore power to the building. It's not like they're doing anything wrong. They're trying to fucking restore power to the building and they're throwing shit at them. But they now have to hire security to protect them at a cost, which is going to be passed on to the building, and the building itself has to pass on those costs to the residents because they have to then now pay more in, I guess, rent or condo fees if they pay that. Either way, somehow this shit rolls downhill, and the people that are living in those
no pun intended.
Yeah, they gotta fucking pay. So stop throwing shit. It's like, come on, these guys or gals are just fucking trying to do a job. They're trying to restore power. What the fuck? This is like insane shit. It's late stage fiat.
What can you say about this? Everyone knows, like, listen, there's a significant uptick in people who seem to not be shy about shitting and using shit in public. And you get these stories from the beach. You got these contractors having poop hurled at them. Poop. That's a good place to wrap it up.
It's better that I'll say this rather than actually having somebody just lean over the ledge and just dropping a fresh one. They're at least putting it in a bag and throwing it.
What do you mean? How it probably is still fresh? Like, what do you think? They just stash it in the fridge?
I think it's in a bag and they're throwing it
in.
It's slightly better rather than just going straight from the anus where it's just there's no protection.
I don't know. God bless everyone. Thanks for coming.
Go to the beach and do some some analysis on it.
Holy fuck. Okay. Good night. And we'll see you Wednesday with UTXO.
Yeah, man. Take care.